Hello! I am Gamer Squiggles. Welcome back to Space Engineers. So, I decided to, I've changed my suit up so I'm not blue. But that's not the important part. The important part is, I've been working on this ship for a while now. It's slowly taking shape. The Belgrana is slowly becoming a Belgrana. Is that a block out of place? That is indeed a block out of place. What the heck? That is some weird visual bug. Well, that took care of that visual bug in a hurry. So yeah, the Belgrana is got okay, that's an issue. What? Since when does that have inventory space? Well, let's quickly fix this problem because this problem is just gonna sit there and then sit there and then did I mention it's gonna sit there? Because that's what a lot of these problems do, is they just sit there. So not all of this is hooked up yet, but majority of these thrusters are hooked up. We do have thrust in all directions, thank goodness for that. I still gotta put these ones back in. We have ion, so there's not a lot of ions. This thing's heavy on hydrogen. It's always been heavy on hydrogen. Most of the thrusters are back in place on this thing. It's literally, I think it's just the bottom ones, bottom ones in mid and the bow that need to be finished. The bridge is coming together. I just gotta shore up some things here. Work on the fixing the bathroom. And then I gotta put the captain's quarters back in. The captain's quarters would be around here. And then I gotta rebuild all of this, because this is where, like, the crew would be, because where the med bay was and all that. All that got deleted when this was imported. But, the ship is coming along. You know, I'm happy for that. I still don't know pressurization, but I can fix when it comes time to. I can fix. Yeah, so let's switch you out. You know, I was planning on building the other ship. Instead, I've completely swapped gears over to the Belgrana, but that's fine because nobody really saw me build the Belgrana in SE1 because that's before I was doing YouTube, but hey, you get to see it now. And so I've talked about this before, but can't play SE1 at the moment. The good news is I do have a positive update, and that is I got a 5060 waiting to be put in. I got a buddy who is a proud computer nerd who has promised to install it, and so I'm gonna let him do it, because if I did it, it would go completely terrible, because people that know me the closest know that I have a saying that if it isn't done wrong, it isn't me doing it. So let the pros do the pro things. Remove this. That's all part of engineering and stuff, but a lot of the ship's gonna have to get reworked, and literally I'm using conveyors as a floor. Like, I can't cover this up. This is literally part of the floor down here. So I'm pretty much undecided if the La Grassa will get its thrusters back. Given the size of it, I'm perfectly okay with it remaining fully ion. You know, we got ships like the Belgrana that can pick up the slack when it comes to planet-side activities. The Horde Crow has 0 hydrogen capabilities. If I completely retool the Horde Crow, because of the way SE2 works, I might be able to make that hydrogen-based version of the Horde Crow. It's just going to be a struggle because that ship is literally heavy armor. And that's what... There was a... I did try to make a version of that was hydrogen-based, and it failed because it was heavy armor. A doorway to nowhere again. Seems to be a theme on this ship. So we have an assembler, which I don't even think they're called assemblers now. Well, we got our production blocks. So we have our fabricator. We have our assembler. We have a refinery. We have a smelter. And we have the gear forge, which I don't have on board, but probably need to add. That's gonna be on my list, my to-do list, most likely. Oh, it's got a small conveyor port. Yeah, so the Belgrana was, you know, kind of thinking along the lines of a cruiser, but it didn't. It didn't meet the mark. It's a little small, underpowered, and lacked firepower in SE1. The La Grassa is where we had the firepower that was needed. And I can't remember where, but I can't remember if it was the Grassa or the Felgrana or the Felgrassa, but one of those ships, like, I went to Battleship Cove, and then, like, it was like in my head like a bug to try and build a better ship. And kind of like, I was looking at the Kennedy and then the Massachusetts, trying to come up with ideas on how to build a better ship, and might have been the Felgrassa, honestly. When I was doing that, just to try and make that feel more of a big ship from basically the frigate size that it was. One thing though, I don't know if I'll keep putting connectors on ships. These are a hassle to put in. Like, so basically, in terms of SE1, these are like your small grid large connectors. And unfortunately, they're like a slab compared to like a full block, which was the original large connector in SE1. So yeah, a little bit difficult to put in here. I got thrusters blocked in the floor. This is amazing. It's all half block. But yeah, like this ship for a while was, you know, at the time I settled for it, but in reality, you know, this ship doesn't have the strength that it needs to properly duke it out in a fight. The Argyle in SE1 was a mix of light armor and heavy armor. I don't know how I feel about putting that in front of the door, but I kind of want to cover this pipe up a little bit. No, it can't. That can't work. So this pipe's gonna be exposed. But I'm honestly, like, this jankness right here, this is perfectly fine. In the SE1 version, this was all non-pressurized. You couldn't pressurize this if your life depended on it. So I'm okay with that. I believe that's the refinery? No, that's the hydrogen tank. That's an H2O2 generator, that says somewhere. That's a cargo container, so I think the refinery was taken out. I just gotta find a spot to put it back in. Honestly, but like, you know, I am still proud of this ship. You know, it taught me a lot about building, and it was, you know, at the time it was the biggest ship that I had made in a long time. I had tried building a big ship before, it just didn't work out. Okay, so now we got all of our thrust back, so that's good. I still haven't figured out where the forward ions go on this thing. I'm assuming they go in the engineering section somewhere. I mean, I would assume so. I mean, I know I built this thing, but it's been how long since? Actually, I honestly don't mind that. So, but like this ship, like the top of it had like these 3 guns in the back. They all kind of, these were all assault cannon turrets. And each one had different elevations so that they weren't interfering with each other when they're firing. And then like this one had basically from the top end of the ship had full 360 coverage of the vessel. So it was, you know, the most, like, it was the one that you would use to make sure this ship doesn't get hit. And then we had guns in the front. and we had guns on the side. We had like Gatling turrets here, we had artillery here, and like this ship was decent, but like it's all light armor, and doesn't take much for stuff to go through it like a hot knife through butter and completely shred this thing. The La Grassa, also light armor, but it just carried so much firepower, it made up for its weak armor. And like a lot of like normal stuff, like back in the day before the contact update, literally this thing would just make it disappear. It wouldn't be, it was like non-existent to the La Grassa. The Felgrassa and the Felgrana, they were not, I don't know what the reason is. Those two ships would not import over from SE1. The La Grassa was the only one that would. And like, this is a big ship. This is massively big. But it was able to come over here, but like, you know, this would be an absolute pain to try and convert this thing back to hydrogen. If I ever get back into SE1, I'll probably, most likely, do a new import and see if it will add like the hydrogen back in. I don't know, it's possible. This ship is just, it's interesting to say the least, just the way I built this thing. But it's not a bad ship, it's just weird. But the La Grassa will have production upgrades. At some point I will update this blueprint, at least so you guys have that. And I believe, actually no, I haven't even posted the video about this where I show this off to the workshop. That might be next week's video? Question mark? And actually, I haven't talked about the strike dart. So this is the strike dart. It is in that video, but there's an important modification that was made to it. It now has a survival kit. So do we have a conveyor node there? Oh, this is kind of a cool feature. With the conveyor nodes, you can do that now. So you have a cargo container on board. Yeah, so the reactor's right there, so you can just shove fuel right into it. But like basically this is like a gunboat made for a crew of one. It has the, and this is something I want to bring out, I just had to rework the forward thrusters on this thing. It's just like the small ones. But and but I added an extra one in. I had to completely redo the conveyoring. The conveyoring ran off of the Gatling gun. For whatever reason, that's changed. So the conveyor port no longer works on a Gatling. Like basically, it's like not even existent. Accidentally knocked my headphones off. So the strike dart was like, you know, before like the Sorrel came out, I knew I needed a ship built quickly that could handle atmosphere and stuff. So that's the strike dart. That will be coming out soon. It's like, this thing is like super compact and like only possible in SE2. You could not do something like this in SE1. Let me just demonstrate to you real quick the capabilities of this ship. So like it turns pretty good. recommend it going slow unless you're just like going fast, unless you're just coasting through space. I mean, this is so small, this can get you pretty quick. Oh, that's the strike dart. This thing still turns absolutely like a tank. This thing turns, I think, like a tank? I have not tried this thing since, because it didn't have any thrusters. Okay. Yeah, no, it's slow. What the heck? Okay, so something just exploded in the back. This is why we test everything. So that explosion we were hearing were the sounds of death and destruction. That is great. You know, I always love hearing death and absolute destruction. Oh, I'm seeing smoke everywhere. So this thing's gonna have to get reworked further. I can only imagine what is doing this damage. Alright, time to get down to engineering. That's not engineering. Okay. Trying to see, look for anything that looks... Okay, we blew up our own reactor. That's fun. So what cooked the reactor? Like, what legitimately cooked this thing? It's the first time seeing some of these components. It said more than like 5 blocks were destroyed. So I'm trying to find out what the heck did this? What the heck did this damage? Like, seriously, what did that? That's weird. Just random damage in the front end. That does not even begin to make sense to me. It honestly does not. I just can't explain what we had just happen now. Well, really quick, the only thing we can do is we can test this again, see if the reactor explodes again. I need to go the other way. But anyway, so we test this again, see if the reactor explodes again. If it explodes again, then I gotta move that reactor and then figure out what possibly could be damaging it. everything seems normal. I don't know what was in there. Can't really recall what was in there that caused the massive explosion. But the issue has seemed to have gone away, as far as I know. But saying this ship has a power problem? Which I don't know what that's about. I need to do something about that, but a lot of this design is getting reworked, so it's not a big deal. Okay, so this reactor is functioning. Oh, that's kind of cool. So now you can change these out, so it's actually kind of good how I put this in. Okay. So that's something to know, is that the batteries now, you have to pull stuff out of them. So maybe there's going to be like a battery charger or something. Or like you just make, I don't know specifically, but it's going to be interesting to see how that will work. Actually the Lagrassa needs a battery at some point. So yeah, so that's actually kind of, honestly I haven't seen anything about that, so it's good to know that. And let me go over the strike dart and find out about, so there's batteries in the strike dart, but I don't think they're accessible. No, they're not accessible. So we'll make them accessible. So now you can just take the power cells out of this thing. Okay, so that leaves us at 32% power. So not the terriblest thing in the world, but it is what it is. I'm Gamer Squiggles. If you like what you see, make sure to like and subscribe. I'll see you guys next week for Meet the Fleet Lagrassa SE2 edition. So there's that. I'll do a proper one for the strike dart at some point in time, and then when the Belgrana is finally like looking like it should, these ships aren't going to be what they are until later updates. But and then when I finally figure out what this thing's supposed to be, I'll do Meet the Fleet for that. So there's that, and I'll see you guys next time.